A 7-year-old girl of St. Therese Primary School has been brutally killed at Kumbo Squares. Cho Ayaba continues to partner with the oppressors to get more and more Ambazonians killed. All routes lead to Ndian County on Sunday for the war draft. Ivory Coast and Ghana agree to cooperate on cocoa prices. In England, leaders urge fair distribution of Afghan refugees. We bring you these stories and more in today's newscast. I'm Cynthia Williams. Stay tuned.
Don't you hate it when that happens to you? When it does, you need this and this and this. When it happens to me, I always know where to go. When you've got professionals on your side, your problems don't stand a chance. What are you waiting for? Contact them today and let them take care of your problems.
Hello, I'm Cynthia Williams and welcome to ABC Amba News. We start this edition of the news with a heart-wrenching breaking story from Kumbo. She left the house this morning for school, not knowing it would be her last day on earth. That's the predicament of a little girl of St. Therese Primary and Nursery School in Kumbo, who was early Friday morning shot to death by elements of the Cameroon occupying soldiers right inside her classroom. This part of Kumbo town appeared safe during the early hours of Friday, until around 11:30 a.m. when tensions arose. Sources say the Cameroon military suddenly appeared and left everyone running away. Businesses were shut down, taxi drivers, Okada riders all took off, helter-skelter, in search of refuge. As the population took to their heels to hide, the soldiers rained bullets randomly from armored cars without regard to the fact that everybody around was a civilian. Minutes later, a cry was heard emerging from one of the classrooms at nearby St. Therese Primary and Nursery School. One of the children had been shot dead and 2 injured. Thanks to the Reverend Fathers who were on the premises at the time, without fear, they immediately rushed to the injured Shishong Hospital. Sadly, the dead child was taken to the morgue. Details about this story will be brought to you in our subsequent newscasts. May her soul rest in peace. As the interim government employs all types of strategy, working 24/7 to free Ambazonia, Cho Ayaba, who claims to be fighting the same war, has continued to partner with oppressors to get more and more Ambazonians killed. Our reporter Mike Fusey in this report explains exactly how and what Ayaba is doing.
There are 7 core values that distinguish a valiant restoration fighter, and these values are: 1. Loyalty, truth, and faith to the Constitution and flag of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia. 2. Duty, a willingness to fulfill your obligations to the best of your abilities. 3. Respect, treat people as you would want to be treated, showing respect to your hierarchy, colleagues, and the general public whom you took an oath to serve and defend. 4. Selfless service. Be willing to sacrifice yourself for the greater good. 5. Honor. the ability to exemplify yourself in the good values that distinguish you as a good soldier. 6. Integrity, the ability to live out the moral requirements of your profession. And 7. Personal courage, the ability to confront fear, danger, and adversity. On Thursday, August 19th, 2021, at about 3 a.m., La République du Cameroon soldiers acting on a tip-off stormed a camp in the neighborhood of Mfoya, Bafut of the northern zone of the Federal Republic of Amazonia and killed several young men who were sleeping at the said location. Reports of those killed range between 5 and 7. There are also reports that 2 girls were shot and wounded and are now receiving treatment in the hospital. ABC Amba TV is still investigating to find out the exact number. Some weapons were recovered from the location. ABC Amba TV has gathered that most, if not all, of those killed were engaged in kidnapping and ransom taking. It is reported that the inhabitants of the area and neighboring towns have expressed a sigh of relief, considering the fact that the victims of the killing have been a menace to the population of the surrounding areas. This war between the Federal Republic of Amazonia and La République du Cameroon has brought about a phenomenon whereby individuals and groups of unscrupulous people go about pretending to be restoration fighters and are instead terrorizing the people they claim to protect. Speaking to the leadership of the Bafut RGA, they have distanced themselves from these victims and stated that they have had no control over them or their activities. The Bafut RGA told ABC Amba TV that they had received numerous complaints of kidnappings, ransom taking, seizure of cars, among other crimes. Previous attempts at preventing these atrocities have been unsuccessful. This is, however, a tragic incident whereby young men who obviously lost their way were not lucky enough to have the opportunity to change those negative ways. If there is any silver lining from this incident, it should serve as a teachable lesson to our genuine restoration fighters to emphasize the importance of respecting the core values of an Amazonian restoration fighter as outlined at the start of this presentation, and to underscore the absolute necessity to protect the citizens you took an oath to protect, for they are your first line of defense. It also underscores the importance of always being alert and aware of your surroundings and security at all times, knowing that the enemy can exploit these weaknesses to get to you at the least opportunity. From all indications, those killed in this incident were not genuine Amazonian restoration fighters. Mike Tuesday for Prime Reports on ABC Amba News.
The number one most important thing for every Amazonian to do right now is to draft. Draft and draft and draft. People of Amazonia, draft.
Ambazonians head to Ndian County this weekend for her turn of the Amba War Draft that has been ongoing for close to 2 months. Spirits are high when it comes to Ndian, considering it is the most resource-endowed county in all of the Cameroons. Comfort takes a critical observation of the wealth of this county and explains the need for every Ambazonian, home and abroad, to participate in the draft this weekend. Comfort?
The Ambazonia War Draft for Ndian County has been moved to Sunday the 22nd of August 2021. Ndian County lies in the humid tropical rainforest zone about 650 kilometers or 400 miles southeast of Yaoundé, the capital of neighboring La République du Cameroon. With its headquarters in Mundemba, Ndian is made up of 7 local government areas. Talking to ABC Amba News, Mr. Ebenezer Elemeta revealed many things about Ndian that should give every reason for everyone to assist them financially on Sunday. Mr. Elemeta is the chairman of the Ambazonia National Security Council (ANSC) and also the defense commander for Toko LGA in Ndian County. He is popularly known as Archbishop Ebenezer. Mr. Elemeta said that Ndian County is the reason why La République du Cameroon has penetrated their claws deep down Ambazonia, because it is the financial backbone of the country. He revealed that the oil refinery that is planted in Victoria, what La République du Cameroon calls Limbe, was supposed to be in Ndian because that is where the oil comes from. He also regretted the fact that in addition to the oil, Pamol PLC, which is a palm plantation that produces oil, and the rest of the natural resources in Ndian are being exploited, labeled and exported as products of La République du Cameroon, and the neighboring regime uses the money to kill Ambazonians. However, he was proud of the Ambazonia Restoration Forces, the ARFs of Ndian County, because thanks to their resilience, the oil mills in Bulu and Ekondo Titi have been stalled, and that is bleeding the pockets of the enemy profusely. He said it was because of the economic sabotage that Ndian Gute was given a ministerial post, with the hope that as son of the soil, he would bring CDC back to normalcy in Ndian. Unfortunately for them, it was just one of the other of their many failed strategies. ABC Amba News also gleans from the conversation with Archbishop Ebenezer that Ndian County is blessed with numerous touristic sites, which the regime of occupation, as he said, did not care to develop and preserve. Some of the touristic sites he mentioned included the corrupt National Park, which harbors one of the most gigantic existing pythons and the largest tree measuring about 2 meters in circumference. He also pointed to the fact that Ndian County has a variety of medicinal plants, which attracted the worldwide for future WWF. Sadly, the downside of WWF's presence on their land is that they have for the past decades rendered natives of Ndian jobless and destitute, because they have been robbed of their major source of livelihood, which used to be hunting in these natural forests. Interestingly, there is a mass grave in Toko LGA of Ndian County called Murima Nwadi Ekoko, where Germans and Ndianites were buried during the wars. Regrettably, he said all these things are unknown to the impostor neighboring regime. When asked about the well-being of the 6 La République du Cameroon's delegates that are in the keeping of the ARFs of Ndian, the ANSC chairman said, "First of all, I would like you to know that there was a fierce battle between our forces and those of La République du Cameroon, who were coming to rescue their delegates, and one of the delegates met his demise in the process. So we are now left with 5 of them." He added that the Ambazonia Department of Defense, in collaboration with the ANSC, have their principles and they operate in line with the Geneva Convention. So they are happy to keep the 5 until the war is ended. They are our prisoners of war, he said. We are not asking for money because we are not planning to release them. And we are not kidnappers. We arrested them because they were living and operating illegally on our territory. We, however, do hope that they will cope with the living conditions of our ARFs because that is how much we can afford for them. I want to use this opportunity to call on all sons and daughters of Ndian County that we need all of them now. Let them show the example by drafting first so that our well-wishers and sympathizers will do same. I need to go now. Long live the Federal Republic of Amazonia, short live the war. Archbishop. The tone of the chairman Ebenezer's voice, who is one of the defense chief of staffs in Ndian County, was that of determination to see a free Amazonia. Comfort Confo, with prime reports on ABC Amba News.
The cost for freedom is not cheap. For Amazonia, it is coming with both human and financial tolls. In this commentary, the Undersecretary of State for Education, Iya Marianta, explains why the people of Southern Cameroons must stay the course and give selflessly for the drafts and the refugees. Let's watch.
I live in a free world where human rights and lives are highly valued and protected. Hence, if there are any resources that I can sacrifice or mobilize to empower the victimized citizens of my own homeland of origin to safeguard their rights, dignity, and life, I will do it with all that passion that characterizes the righteousness and selflessness required to honor human existence. Our national anthem says, "The land of milk and honey." Reflect on that for a minute. This is because, of course, Amazonia is blessed, abundantly blessed. Ndian County, for example, is blessed with multiple natural resources: crude oil, palm oil, timber, minerals, the list goes on, we all know it. Sadly, these resources are not being used for the benefit of Amazonians. La Republic feeds fat on them, leaving our homeland barren. Ndian indeed is the breadbasket of Amazonia. It should be. La Republic is making it their breadbasket. For how long would we allow that to continue while our people are suffering? Stuck in the forest, in the bushes, in refugee camps scattered all over the world. We have millions of our people in neighboring Nigeria, Ghana, and in many distant and strange places. Most of them are subjected to torture. Dear friends, family, fellow Amazonians, I am sure you join me in seeing that it is our duty to look out for them and provide sustainable, humane solutions. This is a painful part of our story. Whatever you choose to do today, know that you too are writing part of our history to pass on to our future generations. As a matter of urgency, fellow Amazonians, brothers and sisters, we all need to draft for Ndian County. Drafting for Ndian is drafting for freedom, drafting to secure a future for our young children who haven't been to school for more than 5 years now. Drafting for Ndian is drafting for a future for Ambazonia where our resources will be used wisely to enrich ourselves, for the future engineers of Ambazonia, for the mechanics, for the teachers, for the future nurses and doctors. It is our place to safeguard the future. Thank you, and see you all this Sunday, 22nd of August at 7 p.m.
As the war between French Cameroon and Ambazonia rages on, it is becoming clearer to the world and Ambazonians why France maintains dead silence in the face of genocide. It is a pointer to the fact that the French are the sponsors to the war that has claimed over 30,000 lives. Last year, French President Macron subtly ignored a question on the ongoing conflict in Ambazonia when Calibro, a French Cameroon activist, approached him in the crowd at a farm show in Paris. Nelly Fortu brings the story.
French President Emmanuel Macron, during an agricultural show, confirmed that intolerable human rights violations were taking place in Cameroon, a week after 38 people were killed by gunmen in military fatigues in Gabo, at the heart of the Restoration insurgency. Macron was reacting after a man, Calibro, real name Thiam Abdoulaye, in the crowd at the farm show in Paris, challenged him about the killings. I will call President Biya next week and we will put maximum pressure so that the situation ends, Macron said. When the man in the crowd shouted, "France must not support dictators," Macron replied, "France has a complicated role in Africa. When France says a leader has not been democratically elected, Africans tell us, why are you meddling? I put pressure on everyone. I work with the African Union to put pressure." Gunmen in military uniforms and masks killed 38 people in a February 14, 2020 attack in a village in southern Cameroon, shooting women and children and burning others in their homes, the United Nations has reported. Cameroonian army has been fighting since 2017 the English-speaking southern Cameroon. It is a case of botched decolonization and the recolonization of one African country by another. In this genocidal war, about 30,000 southern Cameroonians have lost their lives, 450 villages burned, over 200,000 refugees are stuck in precarious conditions in Nigeria, Ghana and other neighboring countries, 1.6 million internally displaced and over 3 million on exile. France has been silent. In fact, it confirms the allegations of French interests forcefully imposed on southern Cameroon's Ambazonia. Nelly Fortu on Prime Reports with ABC Amba News.
In foreign news, Leaders north of England have asked for a fair distribution of refugees who are pouring into the country from the abrupt pullout of American troops from Afghanistan. In England, public opinion holds that poorest areas house a high proportion of asylum seekers. Richer areas, mostly north of England, acknowledging the imbalance, have pledged to be welcoming to this new refugee situation. Comfort Confor reports from London.
Political leaders in the north of England have promised to welcome refugees from Afghanistan, but said they must be distributed fairly across the country, as analysis showed the areas housing the most asylum seekers are among the poorest in Britain. A Guardian analysis has found that almost 1 in 4 of the UK's 44,825 asylum seekers supported by the Home Office are housed in just 10 local authorities, 9 of which are among the most deprived in the UK. They include Middlesbrough, Cardiff, Rochdale and Glasgow, which has the UK's highest number of refugees as a proportion of its population. Only one of the top 10, Barking and Dagenham in London, is in the south of England. Mayors in the north of England said the whole country needed to support those in need, as ministers draw up plans to take in 20,000 men, women and children from Afghanistan over the next 5 years. Andy Burnham, the mayor of Greater Manchester, said the region would welcome refugees under the government's resettlement program, but that, in quote, it does need to be fair to places like Greater Manchester and that other regions should play their part. This sentiment was echoed by his fellow mayors Steve Rotterdam in Liverpool City region, Tracy Brabin in West Yorkshire, and Dan Jarvis in South Yorkshire. The analysis shows that northern England, including the northwest, northeast, and Yorkshire and Amba, had taken in nearly half, about 42% of all the 4,825 asylum seekers in the UK. Only 6.5% have been placed in the south of England, excluding London. There is approximately 1 asylum seeker for every 10,000 people in the south of England, outside London, compared with 16 for every 10,000 in northeast and 12 in the northwest. The analysis used House of Commons data on asylum seekers supported under Section 95 of the Immigration and Asylum Act as March of 2021, under which the Home Office provides housing and/or basic living expenses. Deprivation data was taken from the indices for multiple deprivation for the relevant nation. MPs have called repeatedly for an overhaul of the deeply unfair dispersal system, which often results in those fleeing persecution being housed in areas of severe deprivation, with what one deputy mayor called an appalling lack of notification to the local council. The city of Salford in Greater Manchester was housing 706 asylum seekers in March this year, equating to 25 for every 10,000 people, more than 4 times the UK average. John Mary, Salford's deputy mayor, said the council was suddenly told to expect 160 more at the end of June, most of whom were Afghans who had been rescued from the channel in boats. He said Salford's already stretched public health team was expected to do medical checks on all 160. Some turned out to be unaccompanied children, which was a nightmare for us, said Mary, because of the costly statutory responsibilities around keeping such children safe. Things were complicated further when there was an outbreak of COVID in their hotel and then TB, which costs a considerable amount to deal with, said Mary. We felt quite upset that Salford was being hit with these extreme costs, particularly when these costs are not being shared equally around the country, he said. We are not trying to be hard-hearted about this. I'm not saying we don't want to take responsibility for some of these cases, but we don't want to take responsibility for all of them. 2 weeks after apologizing to Salford, the Home Office placed a similar number of asylum seekers at a hotel in Wigan, which in 2015 became the subject of protests from residents when asylum seekers were placed regularly there. Key considerations for dispersing asylum seekers include the availability of private sector housing for rent, school places, and local health services. Some of the more remote rural areas do not have the resources to support asylum seekers who often complex needs. Comfort Convo on Prime Reports with ABC Amba News.
The Libyan army has rejected a demand by the 5-5 Joint Military Committee held last Tuesday. The demand calls for the cancellation of previous agreements signed by the former legitimate government, including one entered into with Turkey. Our correspondent in Nigeria, Eunice Momo, reports.
The Libyan army rejected the demand by the 5+5 Joint Military Committee on Tuesday that agreements signed by the previous legitimate government be frozen, including one signed with Turkey. The commander of Western Military Zone's Joint Operations Room, Major General Osama Juwaili, stated on social media that agreements with Turkey were requested by the legitimate government of national accord to help propel the offensive on Tripoli, while Russia and other countries that have troops on the ground in Libya have no legitimate agreements with the government. The Turkey-Libya deal on maritime delimitation has provided a legal framework to prevent any fait accompli by regional states. Accordingly, the attempt by the Greek government to appropriate huge parts of Libya's continental shelf since a political crisis hit the North African country in 2011 have been averted. The agreement also confirmed that Turkey and Libya are maritime neighbors. The delimitation starts from Turkey's southwestern coast of Fethiye Marmaris Kars and extends to the Dana-Trouble border coastline of Libya. Also within the scope of the security agreement, Turkey has started providing military training to Libyan soldiers. The new interim government, led by Prime Minister Abdul Hamid Mohamed Beba, will lead the country to elections in December. Meanwhile, Defense Minister Hulusi Akar met with Libyan Chief of General Staff Mohamed Ali Haddad on Tuesday on the sidelines of the International Defense Industry Fair in Istanbul. Akar and Haddad discussed regional and bilateral security issues, while Akar reiterated Turkey's support for the country. Eunice Momo on Prime Reports with ABC Amba News.
In business news, Ivory Coast and Ghana have signed cooperation pacts that should stabilize cocoa prices between the two countries. Dr. Ngwambe, our economic correspondent, in this report says instead of emulating such examples, La République du Cameroun continues to exploit and rape southern Cameroon's cocoa farmers of their rightful earnings. 90% of cocoa produced in the Cameroons comes from Ambazonia. Dr. Ngwambe reports.
Ivory Coast and Ghana, the world's two largest cocoa suppliers, on Thursday agreed to better cooperate on pricing and combating child labor in the industry. Ivory Coast accounts for more than 40% of the world output, and Ghana at least 20%. More than half of their growers live below the poverty line. The two West African producers joined forces in 2019 to try to get more from the chocolate industry, obtaining a premium per ton of cocoa. But the coronavirus pandemic has hit global demand, and buyers are reluctant to see prices rise with the surplus in supplies. Ghana's Foreign Affairs Minister, Shirley Ayoko Boche, said they had agreed to form a joint body to cooperate over research, price setting, and child labor. The two countries, which produce about 60% of the world's cocoa, have coordinated on some of those issues before, but this new organization marks a formal step toward even more effective cooperation, she said. The world's chocolate market is estimated to be worth more than $100 billion, concentrated in a few multinational corporations. Experts in Ivory Coast say that cocoa prices are still low, even with the so-called living income differential, or LID, supplement the two countries negotiated with chocolate makers to help farmers. More than half of the million people working in the sector live below the poverty line, earning less than $1.2 per day, according to the World Bank. The cost of even producing a bag of cocoa is so much more for us, Nana Kwabena Ponko, a cocoa farmer, said at the event. This kind of initiative is going to help farmers of both countries. In the Cameroons, with the production level between 210,000 and 270,000 tons per year over the last decade, the two Cameroons put together are currently the fifth largest cocoa producers in the world. Cocoa production rose during the 2017 to 2018 campaign despite unrest in the southern zone of Ambazonia. During the 2017 to 2018 cocoa campaign, which was officially wrapped up in mid-July, the Cameroons marketed a national production estimated at 253,510 tons, a volume up by 22,000 tons compared to the 231,510 tons marketed during the previous campaign. This increase in production occurs despite an environment marked by violence imposed by the French Cameroon government on the peaceful peoples of southern Cameroons, which is one of the largest cocoa producing basins in the two Cameroons. According to the figures published on August 7, 2018 by the National Coffee Cocoa Board during the official launch of the 2018 to 2019 cocoa campaigns in Gomzap, a production basin in the central region, the southern zone of Ambazonia contributed 31.5% in the overall cocoa bean purchases in the Cameroons, against 50.3% and 7% for the central and coastal regions respectively of French Cameroons. During the campaign under review, the average farm gate price was 550 colonial francs at the launch of the campaign in August 2017. In the interseason, however, this price capped 1,000 colonial francs and even reached 1,210 colonial francs according to the figures released by the board. Over the years, it's been estimated that at least 70% of what makes the Cameroons to feature on the top 4 of the world cocoa production comes from Ambazonia. But apparently, the reflection in terms of infrastructure and economic development is reflected by 95% in Yaoundé and Douala of French Cameroon. This explains one of the reasons why Ambazonia is at war. Statistical cocoa alone will make sovereign Ambazonia to feature among the richest nations in the world aside from petroleum. We hopefully will examine the economic substance of Ambazonia in our next newscast. I am Dr. Gwambe on Prime Reports with ABC Amba News.
Don't you hate it when that happens to you? When it does, you need this and this and this. When it happens to me, I always know where to go. When you've got professionals on your side, your problems don't stand a chance. What are you waiting for? Contact them today and let them take care of your problems.
Barcelona FC president reveals the extent of the club's rising debt. The debt of the football giant has risen to 1.35 billion euros. Joan Laporta confirmed that the club had losses in 2020 and 2021 of 481 million euros and was left with a negative net worth of 451 million euros. Laporta blamed the club's previous administration for the dramatic and complicated situation that made it difficult for Barcelona to negotiate with players and ultimately led to the departure of Lionel Messi. Our salaries represent 103% of the club's total income. That's 20 to 25% more than our competitors, Laporta said in a news conference on Monday. While presenting the club's dire financial situation, Laporta accused his predecessor, Joseph Bartomeu, of countless lies and stated that he and his board of directors must be held accountable. Bartomeu resigned last year amid financial struggles, but recently published a letter in which he denied any wrongdoing during his administration. We are satisfied to have resolved the issue with Piqué, and we hope that other captains will act along the same lines. The negotiations are going well, Laporta said on Monday. We will soon reach the agreements we want to reach. Despite Barcelona winning their first match 4-2, Laporta was the target of fans' anger on Sunday with banners hung outside Camp Nou Stadium criticizing him for not doing enough to keep Messi. Laporta confirmed to reporters that the Argentine player's departure was sad but necessary. We are convinced that the right decisions have been made. The institution is above all, he said. This is yet another breaking sad story. Viewer discretion is strongly advised as the images may not be appropriate with some viewers. Reports have just reached the ABC News desk of yet another killing on Friday afternoon in Boya. This time a child was caught in the crossfire between Cameroon invading soldiers and Ambazonia restoration forces. The child has been reported dead. We have also learned that one restoration fighter was killed during the confrontation. We will bring details on Monday.
The number one most important thing for every Ambazonian to do right now is to draft. Draft and draft and draft. People of Ambazonia, draft.
My dear fellow Ambazonians, accept revolutionary greetings. We want to thank you all for your consistency and your high sense of belonging. Our collective endurance have inflicted huge pains upon our enemy, the enablers and the intruders and the invaders, the Corps Scout that you and I call La République du Cameroon soldiers. At this moment that we speak, they are completely frustrated and confused. They have lost their enthusiasm and their self-instinct in the pursuit of this war. Thanks to your resistance, thanks to your endurance, it's not going to be long. Fellow Ambazonians, you and I will bear testimony that endurance is the key for any success. Afghanistan is an example. We are not going to be different in southern Cameroon. Fellow Ambazonians, this Sunday is a very deciding one. The war draft goes to Ndian County. Ndian County, as we all understand, is one of those counties that has been blessed by the Almighty God with every natural resources that you can think of, including gold, diamond, silver, uranium, bauxite, petrol, to name just this. Yet, that county is completely lacking in every infrastructure, in every expectation in social amenity that you can imagine. This is exactly what we say, monkey the walk and baboon the job. Fellow Ambazonians, after 60 years of keen observation and frustration, we have come as one man, collectively, to stand behind Ndian County to send a clear message to Yaoundé that if you think you are going to use the elite of Ndian County to send them to Ndian County, we have blocked money to come and bring divide and rule in order to find your way to continue to exploit our natural resources and abandon our people wretched and miserable. We want to tell you, you are dead wrong. You are dead wrong. If you think another method you are going to explore is to use the enabler among us to expose where our restoration fighters are located, we want to tell you, you are dead wrong. You are dead wrong. If you think you are going to carry out indiscriminate shooting, killing innocent people of the sons and daughters origin of Ndian County to feel that they are going to back out, to frighten them with the hope that they are going to give up this struggle, we want to tell you, you are dead wrong. You are dead wrong. The more soldiers you send this time, the more corpse you shall receive in Ndian County. The more soldiers you send this time, the more corpse you shall receive in Ndian County. Fellow Ambazonia, we are pleading on each and everyone to turn out massively this Sunday, the 22nd of August 2021 at exactly 7 p.m. Amba time prompt. Seated on that war draft that goes to Ndian County will be the Supreme Commander of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia, His Excellency Dr. Samuel Sako Ekome, and every member of his cabinet, including the Restoration Council, the Judicial Council, the European stakeholders, the country head, the county head, every Southern Cameroonian who should turn out massively. We are going to get them all from our God-given blessed land, which all the natural resources you could find in Ndian County. This explains why no one should be left out this Sunday. Turn out massively and contribute generously to Ndian County so that collectively we can come out and send out all these rebels, these intruders, and all these thieves in our land to make a place for our future. Fellow Ambazonians, I have just smelled dead rats. Now I must get ready to change my destination. The signal shows that I have been tracked, and this tracking, they are coming closer to locate me. Hello? Yes, this is the spokesperson, the magnificent Fondo. 6 trucks has just passed and they are heading towards Ndian County. At this moment that we speak, please get ready and stand by. Field Marshal 10 Kumbo, please take command. I must leave now immediately. Off and out.
The number one most important thing for every Ambazonian to do right now is to draft. Draft and draft and draft. People of Ambazonia, draft.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is all the news we have for you in this newscast. Thank you for tuning in and have a great rest of the day. I'm Cynthia Williams.
Don't you hate it when that happens to you? When it does, you need this and this and this. When it happens to me, I always know where to go. When you've got professionals on your side, your problems don't stand a chance. What are you waiting for? Contact them today and let them take care of your problems.
never koniba oroko winyaboni we kokari suma chief asu sakwe we bongwa kinye umboka rikubi yeah
eso make wo base
ngamboni yeah
roki mana ko base
Paulo
awaka mosaka no bana ba oma mokoni monene Paulo de plaisir eraka obase yarorito eso make obase yarorito elo kimana kobase obase yarorito eso make obase yarorito elo kimana kobase inerize bengwana wasuwe eso make inerize mwana wasuwe elo kimana kobase orasa kwesiri eso make obase memorio wasuwe elo kimana kobase owe